believe will have prophetic implications. But we are living right now overall, folks, and we've really seen this pushed into overdrive since October 7th. We are living in prophetic times, Bible times. So I can't think of a better guest to come to us today on the newscast than our good friend Amir Tsarfati, founder and president of Behold Israel. Now, Amir also has an incredible Telegram channel, which you need to check out. You see the information there on your screen. Go and follow him on Telegram. Subscribe, of course, to the Behold Israel channel right here on YouTube as well, and pick up his brand new book, Discovering Daniel. He is a prolific author, and there is no one better in breaking down prophecy and why it matters to you, no matter where you live. And that's the key, right? Amir drives it home, makes it personal, and lets you know why events happening over there in Israel matter over here in America or wherever you are watching around the world. In this clip, we discuss the coming third temple in Jerusalem. The Bible is very clear that there will be a third temple. And along those lines, what is the role of that future sinister world leader known as the Antichrist? Take a look.
You get a sense that, obviously, not only after the trauma of October 7th, but in the midst of continued trauma. Look, people are evacuated from north and south, families uprooted. Guys with wives and kids are in the reserves, gone from their families for months at war. Do you get the sense that perhaps the people of Israel may become more spiritually hungry as well?
Well, I don't have to get the sense. I see it. Almost every soldier that goes into Gaza wants to have a tefillin, like a phylactery and prayer shawl. We see the number of secular Israelis that go into fighting areas, and they are part of prayers, and they are part of having synagogues erected across Gaza in many places. There is a hunger for God, but the option they see is the religious option, the Orthodox religious option. They wanted to kill us because we're Jews. Let's be Jews, okay? And Orthodox Judaism right now is really taking off. I see we have the word leitchazek, to get stronger. That's the word. The word leitchazek in Hebrew, it doesn't talk about military, doesn't talk about, it's about religious affiliation. If you're getting stronger in Judaism, that's when you're strong. That's how they say it. That's how they use the word. And so a lot of them consider themselves as people who are now stronger. That's how they call it. Yes, I see it happening all over. And again, it's also prophetic. Eric, you have to understand, eventually the Jewish people, everywhere you go, they're waiting for the coming of the Messiah. I see the president of Israel singing in a yeshiva school, Ani ma'amin beviat HaMashiach. I believe in the coming of the Messiah. I see the prime minister of Israel in a yeshiva school coming to visit, where dozens of their alumni died in the war. They come to visit, and they end up singing, Ani ma'amin beviat HaMashiach. Gam himu yitma'ameh achake lo ad sheyavo. Even if he tarries, I will wait for him until he comes. You see, the leaders of Israel are singing that. You see, the people of Israel are singing that. There is a longing for a deliverer to come. And just think about it. A world leader appears and says, not only that I bring you peace, but for the first time in 2,000 years, you're allowed to build a temple. That's it. You already see the messianic aspiration are growing and growing and growing. And when he rises to power, that Antichrist, there's enough of them that will think, okay, I like this one actually. He's not religious. He's trendy. And it's funny because I do believe that the religious Orthodox Jews will not accept him. They're the third that will not perish.
And we're talking, by the way, about the Antichrist.
Absolutely. So the people of Israel are going to come to the point where they feel spiritual, but it will all be channeled to the wrong person. Because can you imagine an Orthodox Jew looking at a man that declares himself as God and wants his statue to be in the temple? Of course not. It's the Orthodox Jews that will have to flee that day. But it's the rest of the nation that will fall at his feet.
And that third temple must be rebuilt. Prophecy demands it.
And for the first time, we have the blueprints of it. We have blueprints of the third temple. It's no longer some fantasy of some radical group. It's something that is being taught in yeshiva schools all across the country. In home groups, they have home groups where they come and they have a PowerPoint presentation. All they need is the name of the contractor. Because when the time comes, when the political climate in the world will allow the Jews to build a temple in Jerusalem, it's already done. You need someone it'll take probably a couple of years, 2-3 years, and we know what's going to happen.
And we see more Jews visiting the Temple Mount now than ever before.
Yep. And some connect the October 7th to that. Some people say, well, it's because the Jews visit the Temple Mount, that's what made the Hamas wants to do that. I would say they plan it. They wish that for the longest.
Yeah.
That was the excuse they used because they needed to rally all Muslims around the world. So in the name of Islam, not in the name of Palestinian national ideas, in the name of Islam, it's the Al-Aqsa flood. That's how they name it, Tufan al-Aqsa. Aqsa flood. Because the Jews invade, that's why we need to slaughter 1,200 of them and invade and start a war, and that's it.
And you mentioned Zechariah's war earlier, Amir, and everything comes back to Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
Eventually, prophetically. Hey, these are obviously heavy times, perilous times, and one of the things I love about your analysis is you don't pull punches, you lay it out, but you always add that biblical encouragement. You've got a book coming out in May, Discovering Daniel.
Right.
Why is Daniel, the book of Daniel, so relevant to the times we're living in right now?
Because the book of Daniel is the most detailed revelation of God to his people. Not to his servant John on the island of Patmos. I'm talking about the nation of Israel by the prophet who was born in Jerusalem, taken into captivity in Babylon, Daniel. And the reason why the subtitle of the book is Finding Our Hope in God's Prophetic Plan Amid Global Chaos. You see, as far as I'm concerned, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iran, even the pro-Palestinian organizations around the world, 50 Iranian militias in Iraq, 15 in Syria, all of them will not determine the future of Israel. God has already determined the future of Israel, foretold the future of Israel. As I said before, it's a done deal. It's going to happen. The question is not if it's going to happen. The question is, are you ready to accept and believe that which is going to happen? And we can only find peace if we understand that. If we understand that God has a plan for Israel. The entire story of the Antichrist, when he's going to rise, how he's going to rule, what's going to be like halfway through, all of this is detailed in the book of Daniel. Daniel is probably the only book or the only prophet Jesus himself quoted in his Olivet Discourse. And he says, as Daniel said. So, it's worth finding out what is it that Daniel said that even Jesus himself quoted when he spoke to Israel about the future of Israel throughout the tribulation.
Amir, as we close, you obviously have Discovering Daniel hitting bookshelves soon in May 2024. You've got your great Telegram channel, YouTube, very busy man speaking around the world. But tell us about, number one, Connect, this great new initiative you're leading. And secondly, leave everyone at home, if you can, with some biblical encouragement. We're laying out, obviously, some heavy topics, but God is still on the throne.
Correct.
And you're a great encourager. So first, tell us about Connect, and then we can close with some great biblical encouragement.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So first of all, Connect is something that was born out of my understanding that something big is going to happen to Israel soon. And I'm talking about, I thought about that 6-7 months ago. I didn't know about the war. I talked about the scenario of this war in April of last year. I don't know if you know that. I said, what is the plan of the Iranians? But I had a feeling that something big is going to happen that will require me to stay in Israel and to start a base of operation here. So I was looking for a place where I can build a studio from where I can just broadcast, as well as a place where I can teach groups that are coming to Israel and local believers that are not that familiar with the end times and God's plan for Israel. And that's what I'm planning on doing. We're halfway through. It'll be probably ready by the end of April, beginning of May. And this is going to connect people with the land, people with the word, and we are very excited about this.
Yeah, it's an exciting initiative for such a time as this.
Exactly.
And if you could just give us some words of encouragement to close here, Amir, because it is, hey, perilous times,
Yes.
time of Jacob's trouble at the doorstep.
Yeah.
But hey, God's on the throne. He has a glorious plan for the land of Israel.
So I'll start
And every believer.
I'll start my words of encouragement by saying that darker days are coming. Mm-hmm. Let it be very clear. We won't be able to conduct this conversation in this house maybe in 2 months. We will be in the midst of a war that Israel has not seen yet. The skyline of Tel Aviv might even change. We're talking about, yet I will say, I know the future of Israel. I know the plan of God. And the plan of God for Israel is to give them hope and future. That's not a verse that he gave to Jeremiah for a women's Bible study or for a conference. It's a word that he gave to his people, Israel. I am going to give you hope and future. I don't have any thoughts of destruction about you. I, the Lord, he said, have promised it. And he also said, I do not change. Therefore, you're not consumed, O sons of Jacob. So the God has a plan for Israel, and Israel is God's prophetic timepiece, but also a picture of his faithfulness. And every believer should watch now how God is taking care of his people and be encouraged, because Israel is not going to be wiped out. The only time the nation of Israel will no longer exist, Jeremiah said that, not me. He said only when the sun, the moon, and the stars will no longer be there, that's when Israel will not be a nation before me, says the Lord. So I advise to the Iranians, Ayatollahs, aim your weapons towards the sun, the moon, and the stars, because you have to finish with them first. Everyone needs to understand Israel won't be over. The question is, do you believe in the same God who promised that for Israel? And do you understand that the same faithfulness is something that he has for you if you follow him and trust him?
Last question. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talk in the United States about revival and obviously the need for revival. Do you see a last days revival taking root in the near future, perhaps?
Look, I hope for it. I don't see it as much as I hope for it, because prophetically, biblically, things are only going to go down south. I mean, you see people, you read 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 all the way to the end. You see how people will have strong delusions. People believe the lie and not the truth. We see people will grow. The last days, as Paul wrote to Timothy, will be people who want to have itching ears. They want bad teachers to tell them things. So the end times is not something that is described beautifully, but at the same time, there's always, in the midst of all of that, the prayer and the hope that there will be the last ditch, the last push of some sort of a revival. But I'm not going to say I have a verse for it. I have a hope for it. I pray for it, because there's so many wonderful American people that love the Lord and they love Israel, and they keep writing. He says, don't think that if we have such government, we are not standing with you. And we don't support what he does to you. We're not standing with him. We're standing with you guys. So I do see that millions of Americans are standing with Israel. Millions of Americans love the Lord. And I hope and pray that everyone who is seeing through all the schemes of the devil right now in America will understand that there is hope, and the hope is in the Messiah, and the hope is in having to be born again, to be spirit-filled, and that's when they get their wisdom, their knowledge, and their hope and their peace.
Jesus changes everything.
Absolutely.
Amen. Amir Tsarfati, we cannot thank you enough, my friend. Thank you for everything you're doing. We'll look for you on Connect very soon. We'll be
and you're welcome to broadcast from there whenever you're here.
It would be an honor and a pleasure, my friend, and we'll look for Discovering Daniel, May 2024.
Yes.
Amir Tsarfati, God bless, my friend. Thanks so much. We appreciate it, Amir.
Thank Thanks again to our good friend Amir Sarfati of Behold Israel for those powerful insights. Folks, if you want to watch my entire interview with Amir, subscribe to the Stackscast. It's our brand new podcast. You can find it at Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast. The full episode, number 4 of the Stackscast with Erick Stakelbeck, my entire interview with Amir. Hey, we went over 40 minutes overall from Amir's home, by the way, in the Upper Galilee region, not far from the Jezreel Valley. So just amazing, an amazing view, number 1, and a powerful and important conversation. So be sure to subscribe to the Stackscast. We're coming to you every week with in-depth, hard-hitting podcasts with some fascinating, important voices. We've got 3 legs here, we've said. Number 1, The Watchman here on YouTube, of course. Number 2, the Stackscast podcast. And number 3, a program which I'm doing rehearsals for today, our brand new nightly show known as Stakelbeck Tonight, debuting in this very studio on March 25th, folks. Mark your calendars. Every night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then again at 10:30 p.m.